Cheers, Powerful Parent Club. We are back in action. Hopefully, if you guys are looking for some sleep tips, we had a sleep expert on earlier today, and we're trying to find a little bit more movement in the day as well. So, we're going to start tonight with a little bit of that, just to kind of unwind a little bit from a long day. It's been stressful few weeks, but we were also extremely excited to have on another special guest tonight. Sharon Systad, who created the Joyful Parenting Challenge, which if some of you saw the earlier posts, we've been trying to think about different ways or trying to be mindful of how we interact with our kids, and she has some amazing resources and tips and experience in that. So we're going to get to talk with her, which is going to be great. So while we take a second to just kind of loosen up, feel free to just roll our shoulders out. We're just going to do a few circles here. I know it's a long day. It's a lot. Parenting. I went from, we're going to go forward and backwards. We just finished bedtime not too long ago, and then you go to laundry and trying to clean up dishes. You look around behind me. It's dark, but there's a big mess, and some of that we just leave. We let it go. And it's okay. We just do the best we can every day. All right, and we're gonna let our heads roll. Kind of rocking side to side. We often lose movement throughout the day because we're working, we're busy, we're trying to stay in the zone, focus. Forward and backwards. All right, now let's shake out a little bit of our arms a little bit. Just a few arm circles. Some of this, if you've got some ways to take a work break in the middle of the day and you're busy, it'd be nice to get your blood pumping a little bit, even in a super easy way. We're not revving up necessarily, we're just kind of limbering ourselves up, getting loosened up, so we can hang out and talk and be aware of what's going on without having all those jiggles around. So if you're here, if you're popping in, say hi, give us a wave. If you have questions, feel free to drop them into the comments section, and we would love to help answer them. So thanks everyone for showing up, and welcome Sharon. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to join us and to share some of what you know and what you've learned, and we're just really excited to have wonderful guests coming on. So I'll have you introduce yourself in better detail than I would be able to, and take it away.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for hosting me and for coordinating with me on the timing. You were mentioning bedtime, and of course, I'm over on the West Coast, and I just put my boys to bed like 10 minutes ago. So hubby's watching the baby monitor, so I can be with you guys.
And we've had in the past, we've had breaks where some moms have had to breastfeed in the middle, and I'm really good at delaying and just making time if we need to. So if the kids start to scream at some point, that's totally normal. It's part of the fun of the Powerful Parent Club. We're coming at you totally unscripted, unedited, and just very real.
Oh, I did a training on Saturday, and due to scheduling conflicts, my husband was at work, and I thought, okay, this would be perfectly timed during nap time, and something woke him up early, so I had to say, okay, participants, read the next slide, I'll be right back, and I came back with a toddler in my arm, different outfits so I could nurse them. That'll be replay.
Only as a parent. This is like the challenges of normal life.
Yeah.
Cool. So fill us in. What have you been doing? What have you been working on? And I'm excited to talk about it more.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. So I am an elementary school teacher by trade. I'm working currently for the grade 1 class, but I've worked as high up as a grade 5 class. And I am very blessed to have 2 beautiful boys. My eldest is 5 and is actually in kindergarten at the same school that I teach at. And my youngest is just over 2. So busy in our household, active, interactive, I really recognize how fortunate I am to have my husband by my side, and he is actually our primary stay-at-home care provider. The economy took a bit of a hit when we had our kids, and for a lot of people, that was rough and serendipitous for us because it meant we didn't have to worry about childcare. He's been home with them. So
childcare is not cheap, that's for sure.
No. So it's it's neat. I mean, we've always taken we've always taken a glass and half full approach to sort of the way that we lead our lives. And you don't really realize how much of a difference that's going to make for your family until you have other people observe you. And so we were actually our eldest, well, at the time, our only child was around 2 years of age, and we were visiting, the grandmother out of our normal living area, staying with her for a couple of weeks, and we had friends visiting, and I think I was actually quite pregnant as well, and we were working on getting out the door for an activity, and he was to it a bit and didn't want to go or didn't want to stop the playing activity, and without even missing a beat, I was able to, give him some choices of, how we could get out the door. Did he want to wear his running shoes or his gum boots? And, how did we want to, what animal did we want to move to get ourselves out the door? And, did he want to carry the bag or was I going to wear it on my head like a hat? We all these playful things. And we got out the door and, the family friend who was visiting just kind of looked at me like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
I was like, how did I do what? Leave the house with a 2-year-old? Like, I do it every day. Doesn't everybody get out the door happily? Like, no. She's like, I had 2 kids. They're quite a bit older, but she's like, no, not everybody gets out the door.
Most people do not get out the door happily. I feel like you're probably more of the anomaly than the usual.
And that's when I realized, I might have something going here for how I communicate with my kids. And you take for granted the things you learn in university or your job experiences when you start applying them to parenting, and you don't realize that other parents don't have that. And I mean, I love watching what you're sharing because, you don't take into account how your own body is functioning. So, that back and forth.
It's really, really huge, and that's the wonderful part about what's going on in the world right now is that we have this ability to share experiences, and because we focused on different areas, we can share some of those learnings, and it can be really, really powerful because nothing really exists in a vacuum, and there's a reason that certain things grow the way they do, but it's also extremely overwhelming at the same time, and so helping people connect with what's going to be most important for their specific situation is really, really challenging and requires, a little bit more hands-on approach in most cases.
Well, and I think too, we don't always want to keep learning by trial and error. I think that there's a natural tendency that you're going to come across things, and certainly how I'm handling things with my second kid is different than my first. But when I thought about coming on and talking to you today about communication, I really was mindful, like, okay, what strategies am I using in my classroom to get 20 kids on board for an activity, and how have I applied those in my home setting? And so there was 3 main communication strategies that I wanted to share with your community today, and they really reflect sort of a range of communication over ages, because the way we talk to our kids is different depending on how old they are. And even though I have taught up to 10-year-olds, I'm not going to talk too much today about going past, that sort of like kindergarten grade 1 stage, that's where my main area is now. But when we have our little babies, the best way that we can be communicating with them is to narrate, talk all the time. Tell them what you're doing. I'm changing your diaper. You've got 10 toes wiggling at me. The cat is meowing at my feet.
Yeah.
The more you talk, the more vocabulary you'll introduce to your child. And I was really surprised with our second child that the things that he could receive, he wasn't able to communicate yet, but I could say things. I remember one day saying like, "Oh, can you go grab that blue car on the bookshelf?" I am not expecting anything. I've just always been talking. And he toddles over, grabs the blue car, brings it back to me. And I was like, whoa, you understand what I'm saying. And so for our babies, like, again, the kiddos that aren't yet talking, the more we talk to them, the more we introduce vocabulary, and then they will have tools when it's time for them to talk.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like early on we had decided that we were going to try to be talk to our kids as adults, and we never really went the really super babyish route, which I'm sure that aligns really well with what you're talking about here, because It's really hard not to talk to a baby in the cutesy voices all the time, but it's there's definitely some benefit to going the opposite way.
Well, and I think it sets. It's funny because when I teach in the classroom, if I have behavioral challenges, and I'm talking to a parent about it, I'll often say, "I know your kid's only 8 right now, but I'm looking at this behavior and wondering, is it going to serve them at 18, at 28, when they're at a job interview, when they're at their mother-in-law's house and they're having a hard time, like this sense of I'm looking ahead in their life." And there's like developmental levels of where kids are at, but I do really try to keep that like forward thinking. And baby talk doesn't help you anytime.
No, you don't talk to your mother-in-law with baby talk? That's not how you interact with her?
And when you talk about like using like narrating, we did a little bit of baby sign languages, or not baby sign language with our kids, so that then they had that extra connection to words. And it doesn't have to be official American Sign Language. It can be whatever sign your family uses. Drink was this because that was a cup to and so you just drink. And my boys are always like, drink, and I'm like, sure, if that's how you're like, I know what you're saying, you know what I'm saying, and so then as they're developing their language, they can communicate. So as we move up to an older age, that more toddler, like 2-3-year-old, the big thing that I find that helps is choices.
Oh yeah.
If you can give your kids choices, then they're more likely to come on board with you because they are big now and they can make a decision. Now, the important thing about making a choice is that you have to already know where you want them to go. So if you want to get out the door, the choice is not, do you want to go out the door with me or do you want to keep playing? That's not going to move you closer to your goal. Your choice needs to align with what you need at the end of your objective. And so you want to get out the door, then their choice has to do with what they're doing to get out the door. Would you like to wear your red gum boots or your blue running shoes? Mm-hmm. Would you like to wear your green rain jacket or your yellow sweater? Bonus points if you add colors, because then they'll have their color words as well. When can I add colors, shapes, numbers to my?
Yeah, we need lots of equipment and lots of we got to gear up. That's important.
Yeah. So choices always gives them an opportunity to feel like they've made the decision.
Yeah.
You're still directing them where you want them to go, but then they're participating. And so, my youngest is more determined than my eldest. So I have been able to implement this strategy much more often. In fact, almost every diaper change, it's sort of like it's time, and he's big enough now. He can walk up the stairs. He can climb onto his, chair or his change set with me right there. And so it's that communication of, it's like, hey, it's time for diaper change because you smell and I love you. Let's go fix that. He's like, no, like I'm playing. So it's, would you like to be carried like a baby or hop up the stairs like a bunny rabbit?
Yep.
Depending on how he feels, he'll choose one and off we'll go. And, if your kiddo is really tired or really hungry, they're not going to play the choices game well. But in general, the choices game is going to get them on board with what you're doing. It's going to make it seem playful. You'll actually feel better about it because you're not getting tense about what you need them to do. You're actually enjoying that, like, hey, let's go.
This takes a lot of practice. We try, we use it and it works really well a lot of the time, like kind of like what you're saying, and in certain instances it works really well. And other times you're just like so overwhelmed as a parent that taking the 2 seconds to think of those choices just feels like too much, where you're kind of like, we just need to go, let's go. Instead of being like, okay, this is going to be a lot quicker and smoother, let's take a deep breath and set ourselves on those choices, and things will be fine if we're running 30 seconds behind, and we don't have to race out. There's nothing that pressing.
I try to remind myself that if I take 30 seconds now to get my kiddo on board, then everything else after is going to go a whole lot more smoothly, and it's actually going to be faster.
Yeah.
If I push my agenda my way, the adult timestamp, then I'm going to have a fight the whole way, and I'm going to lose more time.
Yeah. But it has to happen my way. It can't happen their way.
I know. And it is really hard. So sometimes it's being reflective and going, okay, when did and that's why before we started, I challenged your community to think about, how are you talking? What have you heard yourself saying? Because if we reflect on what we said today or yesterday, then we can actually practice what to say tomorrow. Because you're going to change another diaper tomorrow. You're going to try to get out of the house tomorrow. You're going to ask them to eat properly at the dinner table tomorrow. Like almost everything that we do with this age, we're going to do again tomorrow. And if you want it to be smoother, you could actually practice tonight what you're going to change tomorrow in your communication so that they're more on board with you.
That's great. And that's, I think, something that's a really good challenge just to take on for all parents out there who are watching who get this on the replay. Challenge that routine or the options. Play the options game and give your kids that choice to put them in charge. It's if you keep practicing that over and over and over again, right, it becomes a lot easier, and you're just like, okay, these are the things. You rattle it off without even having to think about it, right? I would assume most of the time.
Because you'll end up finding that a lot of the choices that you're giving are in the same kinds of scenarios. And there's also activities that they're more likely to be resistant of, or times when they're resistant. So you'll see those patterns and know when. And absolutely, I fall victim to being focused on the next task and wanting to get them going or out the door. Or, it's usually the diaper change. And I'm like, but you just smell and I want to fix this. Please don't wipe it on my sofa. Those kinds of,
Yeah.
And I'll find myself like, okay, like I'm going to physically move you. We're going to do this. And then I'll go, what are you doing? Like, you have tools for this. Would you like to hop up the stairs like a bunny or run like a bear?
Yeah.
And then he chooses and he goes. And I'm like, oh, why did I fight that?
Yeah.
I feel that choice is over.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then as our kids are getting older, especially like preschool, 4 or 5, into school, and for quite a while through their school age time, being able to outline your expectations is going to set them up for success to meet your expectations. So if you are, looking ahead at a mealtime, and you want them to be able to participate in a certain way, telling them in advance how to participate is going to mean that you're not nagging during the activity. You're not having to give reminders that sound like warnings or threats that they're not following. You've actually set them up for expectations. This is the task that we're going to be doing, and this is how you're going to behave during it. Now, we use this most often in more public settings, like we're going to the grocery store, and this is where you're going to sit, and this is what we're going to do at the store, and this is what we're not going to do at the store. Or we're getting in and out of a vehicle. I tell them every time, okay, we've gotten home. I'm going to let out the eldest, and he's going to walk on the grass, and then I'm going to get the youngest. I'm trying to give the youngest a chance to go first, but he has a tendency to wander to, puddles and piles of snow. But letting them know what I'm going to do, so they're not like, she got out of the car, where did she go? Telling them what's coming in an activity prepares them so that then they know what they're going to be doing and what to be successful with.
That's amazing, right? Because these same techniques work for adults. It's wonderful to set expectations and in order to achieve a task. It's these small steps that make a huge difference. That we just constantly have to remember, and it's amazing when you put just seeing your teacher experience being brought into parenting, and the same for folks who are watching here or catching the replay who work in a business setting, right? Like they spend a lot of time making plans and strategies and then executing on them, and it's the same basic idea. Just now we just tailor it a little bit towards kids.
And you have to think about like how much your child can process a set of expectations. So usually mine will only be a 2 or 3 step. Here's what's going to happen next. But that also gets into with our older kids, giving them transition warnings. Allows them to be prepared for a change. And for a lot of kiddos, they don't want to leave this activity, but it might be interesting to know that this next one's coming. So one communication strategy in your transitions, if you're going to say, in 5 minutes, we're going to, you don't say, in 5 minutes, we're going to leave your toys. In 5 minutes, we're going to get dressed to go see grandma. In 5 minutes, we are heading to the grocery store. In 5 minutes, we're going to eat dinner. Tell them what's coming next rather than what they're thinking. In 5 minutes, it's going to be dinner time. You can play Lego for a little bit longer. I need it to be clean. We'll get up. And, for my kiddos, and in the classroom setting, I use timers all the time. In the classroom, I have a beautiful visual timer that actually ticks down red. Nice. And at home, I'll even turn on the app on my phone. And sometimes the kids get to choose 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Ooh, there you go. Choice and time.
And they get to press start. And that's not me nagging. Oh, the timer went off.
Yeah.
And you know what? My strategy has been if the timer goes off and they are not ready to accommodate my request, then the next time we set the timer, it's a minute less. And for my older one who's 5 now, who understands the concept of time, understands that, well, no, we set the timer and then we spend a minute waiting for you to behave and come along with us, so you've lost that minute for the next time. And then sometimes that follow-up makes that big difference to say, no, the last time we were cleaning up, it took too long, so we're going to clean up earlier. I do that with my classroom.
Yeah.
These are overlapping strategies. And so having that set of expectations of what they can do to be successful and giving them the transition warning means that when you get to the transition, when you get to the new activity, they're more ready to be with you. They know what to do to be successful, and you can review that. Oh, don't forget, in the car, we talked about it in the grocery store, I really need you to be holding onto the cart with me. We're not touching any of the groceries. We're only getting the 3 things on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Or like my kids have learned, only the yellow sale tagged items. Nope, I can't buy that huge stuffed animal that doesn't have a yellow tag. Now my big kid, I have a yellow tag. It's not on the list. It's not on the list. They get smart.
The expectations makes a big difference. It's just like understanding what they're looking forward to. I feel like I know the timer, we like talk about the timer a lot, and sometimes we'll use a timer, but having the visual representation of it, I think is pretty awesome. That's a great idea. And then the actual association with, okay, you're going to lose some time. That's something we haven't tried yet. I'll have to throw that into the mix at home, especially for getting out the door. But it is interesting to see, because I'm sure like some folks who are watching this, if they're watching it, maybe they've tried some of these techniques and they haven't worked. If so, like comment below and we can address them. Because I'm sure there's some different ways. Like, okay, if that doesn't work, and the kids are resisting, then how do where do you switch to? What's the next move, which is where things get more interesting in terms of, okay, what's the solution that's individualized. But for most kids, like those techniques should work really well.
Yeah, and I would say it depends what's going on in the unique situation. I find that most kids are resistant to things when they are tired or hungry.
Yeah.
Full stop. This is like my toddler at home, my students in the classroom.
And the adults.
Resist adults, absolutely. Tired and hungry trumps everything else that's going on in our world. And so, I had a little boy in the classroom the other day, and literally everything we did for the first hour of the day was complete conflict the whole time, when normally he's a pretty sweet-natured kiddo. And I just thought, who are you, little monster creature that's not yourself?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we came to snack time, and he was even shouting at me about what was in his snack bag, and I thought, I need to put something in you to eat immediately so you stop shouting. And I thought, oh, we've got milk cups in the staff fridge, and I quickly had an EA grab one, and I was like, you should drink this, it's tasty.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, I feel much better now.
Yeah.
He didn't say those words, but his behavior immediately changed within a few minutes. And so if at home you're having, and that's one thing that I've learned with my toddler, and again, bodies grow at different rates. So with my toddler, sometimes he's getting hangry as I'm making dinner. And part of me thinks, no, you have to wait until dinner. If I feed you now, it'll ruin your dinner. Or he's going to bite the table leg because so sometimes it's like, fine, go ahead, choose a yogurt drink out of the fridge. Would you like a graham cracker with, just giving him something will allow him to calm back down.
Yep.
And if he takes one less bite of dinner, okay. But he wasn't shouting at me for 20 minutes while I was cooking dinner because I fed him when he needed it.
I think these are really, really great, powerful tips. I really appreciate it. It's a good reminder, and it's funny when you hear it coming out of someone else's mouth, and you also like just thinking about it from the adult perspective also, right? And you're like, we just need to treat our kids like adults. Like if you were a person who was hungry, you'd probably be pretty upset also, and you would take it out in weird ways. So maybe that's biting off the leg of the table. But there's always some fun, interesting things. So that's awesome.
And before I let your group go, I have a tool that they might find really useful because it's immediately tangible. It's my proactive prompts tool.
I love proactive.
So a proactive prompt is when you are anticipating in advance what you need to say to get what you want. Because so often we are speaking in negative terms. Don't hit the cat. Don't run into traffic. Don't touch the hot stove. First of all, if you say don't too many times, that word is not going to exist in your child's ears anymore. It's just an extra sound at the beginning of your words. And in fact, what happens is if you say don't too much, they don't hear don't. They just hear the other thing. Don't color on the floor. Oh, color on the floor? That sounds fun. And so the other problem with your don't phrases is even if they hear don't, what am I supposed to do then? I want to interact with the cat. You said don't hit it. What do I do with the cat? You've not given them the tools. And especially for our little kiddos where vocabulary is something they're developing, don't might not even be a word they understand yet at all.
Yep.
So giving them that proactive phrase, the positive phrase of what to do. Please pet the cat gently. Please leave your boots on the entryway mat. Instead of saying, don't leave them in front of the door. And the reason I love this tool is because it's so easy for us to change it when we've thought about our day. When was I really frustrated? When was I getting agitated that the kids weren't doing, husband, wife? When was I agitated that someone in my world wasn't doing what I wanted? What did I want them to do? Did I tell them what I wanted them to do? Or did I just say no?
Yeah, you're hitting lots of levels here. I feel like people watching, you're like, whoa, mind explosion. The positive, like taking the positive mindset is so powerful, and just kind of putting some tangible action to it is it's great. It's really good, and it's just hard to accomplish, and it's something that needs practice. It's not going to happen overnight if you've been living in a negative mind space, and right now it's especially hard because things are just kind of junky, and you can't get around that. So then you just got to have to work a little extra hard to focus on the positives, which I know we talk a lot about in this group, and I'm sure with your group also there's a ton of that. But it really is, it's so powerful to live in the positive mind space and think about, okay, what is the positive that you can find? Because it's always there. There's always something that you can grasp onto. And the question is, can you look for it? And if you can't, then that's a harder problem. So,
I think, and you hit the nail on the head about our adult world has so many stressors pushing on us that we maybe don't feel like we're capable of being the best parent. And I really think of my job in the classroom, at home with my boys. My job is in a lot of ways to protect them from the world. Yes, prepare them for the world, but at 3, 5, 7, we're going to take baby steps to prepare for the world. They don't need to feel the pressure or the negativity that some of us are dealing with as adults.
Yeah.
Not to diminish it. It's not an easy time. It's not easy to be separated from family or anxious about family's well-being during COVID. It's not easy to wonder about the political strengths and conflicts that may be arising in our world. But it's not for our 5-year-olds to solve.
Yeah.
And we need to give them tools to become strong adults. And I think through communication, they can have an opportunity to make choices, contribute positively to your household. And this is absolutely some reoccurring themes that comes through both on my page and in the challenge that I will be running again in November.
That's awesome. Well, I love your positive energy and your enthusiasm, especially right after putting 2 kids to bed. Like, that's incredible. So I'm pretty sure, like, after I put my daughter to bed, I was kind of like half asleep. So I'm very impressed, and I'm really thankful that you are able to spend a little bit of time with us and share some of this insight, because it is really powerful stuff and really important for parents to be thinking about, and everyone really in general. Like, it's great tips if you want to get your parents out the door. You can also do the same thing, right? I think my mom might be watching, and I think she's popping in here. But yes, thank you so much for folks. So I'm going to link to your site in the description, so when people are finding this, they will be able to click on your group. But tell everyone a little bit more about kind of what you're doing, and promote anything you'd like.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of our work out of the brand name Let's Go Learn More. So you can find Let's Go Learn More as a Facebook page, on Instagram. And actually, my husband has taken on the work of putting together our YouTube channel under Let's Go Learn More. And what's fun about our YouTube channel is it's actual like videos of our boys enjoying our lives, and really living into that definition of inviting learning more about the world, and inviting that joyful response to the world. And we're lucky. Our boys are little, and they are enthusiastic and curious, and so we're gonna fuel that by letting them stay curious and enthusiastic. And for our family and friends that are far away, they get to join in. So absolutely, we'd love to have your audience come check out what we're doing in any of those platforms. And yeah, definitely watch our platform, especially on Facebook, because I know that I'll be launching another Joyful Parenting Challenge. It's going to be a 3-day challenge, and so just like today's session, I'd come on live, and there'd be a challenge. There'd be some tools, and there'd be some homework to be able to reflect on some strategies. And I teach on 3 different concepts. I have to think about not teaching on communication this time.
Well, this is thank you so much again, folks. Check out what Sharon's doing, because it's awesome, and it's really, really great, and it can make a huge difference in your life and how you feel and parent and move. And we know when we're in a good, positive mind space, our bodies feel better too. So from the PT in me feels really strongly about getting all these different components lined up really well. And when you can feel good and positive and feel happy, then everything feels better. So thanks so much, and we will. I'm looking forward to seeing all the awesome stuff you're doing. Your students are very lucky, to have you in the classroom, and we look forward to seeing what else you're doing. So, folks, thanks again for tuning in, and we will be live with more fun movement and exercise and other guests in the future. So keep an eye out for that, and we will see you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening and get some good sleep. All right.